there YouTube, this is Chuck with Luck&Chuck here. I'm here today with a deck profile for Digimon, and it's what I ran last week for the store championship we had at Anubis. Unfortunately I did not come in first place. I was actually in second place, losing to the first place running Lord Nightmon. What I ran for this event was the deck that I stuck with since I started playing the game, green running Mimi in some form. I'm just going to go over what I ran and the decisions behind it. So, starting off with the rookie lineup here, I went with 14 rookies. Rookies are the heart and soul of the deck. If you don't start with the rookie, you were severely behind. This should count for most decks in general. The primary rookie I had was Digimon, which tutored out the Digiburst mons that I would use in the deck that are the primary focus of the deck, the major beaters, the board controllers. These targets would include Terriermon Assist, Lilamon, RAFFLESImon, and Nidhoggmon. And Hercules commentary, but I didn't really like him that much. And after that is Tentomon, another 3-cost hero like Digimon. This one just straight up takes one from the top of the deck if you get a Digimon. If you happen to hit one of the Tamers, that's unfortunate. And then Terriermon Assist, who has a Digiburst, making it so he can actually be picked up by Digimon. This effect also worked in tangent with RAFFLESImon being established on board. So you can just trigger her without needing to use her own effect if you want to hold that, as well as digging further in the deck to get your other mons. The last two is Lilamon. I didn't want to run as many of her due to the fact that she didn't necessarily move my game state further, and usually if you can get one rotation, you don't really need to see another. Moving on to the champions, this is probably the roughest part of the deck. This is usually where I end up losing my games, is that I don't see a champion or the champions themselves didn't get to move enough. I run 4 of Tyrannomon. That does the top 3 search for a Tamer and an Ultimate. The 2-cost makes it a little rougher to play him sometimes, but I do feel like he's very vital in that the core of the deck, Lilamon, needs to get the hand one way or another, if not by Digimon, then by Tyrannomon. For Weedmon, him along with Terriermon, I run both at 4, but they definitely are the pieces that leave them at home don't move forward as much, though they're low cost and their trade-offs as a blocker and the Digiburst, when Digibursted effect, made them the best choices for the champion line at the moment. In total, I ran 12 champions. For my ultimates, I have a total of 9, and they consist of Argomon at 1, Blossomon 4, and Lilamon, who is the core of the deck. This Digimon, if it is in Nursery, your opponent has to respect it, and one way or another, I'm either taking one of their mons or I'm taking their entire board. And I just hands down is the main reason that this deck is even functional. Again, just always punish your opponent if she's there. And then being able to pump up to 2k with the Yokomons, which is just consistently the best take for this the Digiburst deck, makes it so she can out most anything on her own without going to the Megaz. Blossomon, the free, just playing free ultimate has always been nice. It definitely would be 4 Argomons if we had 4 Argomons, but unfortunately we have Blossomon. And easily makes it so you can get Nidhoggmon, punish an opponent, makes it so having a Weedmon in Nursery becomes a problem if they know there's also Blossomon, or if they know there's Nidhoggmon. So, moving on to the Megaz. In total, I run 8. Sometimes I forget that. The numbers with this deck is going to be a little interesting, and some other things I do want to explain about the deck to follow. 3 RAFFLESIs, 2 Nidhogg, 1 Hercules Commentary, and 2 Bancho Singmon. So to explain the decisions behind them and why I did not want to run Grand Quagmon. Darn it. And for why I did not want to run Grand Quagmon. I do not believe Digimon right now has a deck that can OTK anyone. I believe any sort of plays that does not otherwise establish a board or set up for further plays, well, it's redundant, you should not run a strategy that focuses on that. In the case of Grand Quagmon, his whole thing is to pop off, swing for additional security, go into Chaosmon, and that requires cards that you have to specifically draw, and if you don't see them, well, he becomes very mediocre in my opinion. So instead I focus on more of a build with RAFFLESImon, because that still works with Mimi pretty well, and as I said, I'm running a deck with Mimi, it has to have Mimi in it. RAFFLESImon is just all around a really, really good card. She can become a 13, no problem, sometimes she'll even go up to 15. She will consistently trigger your other Digiburst material, the Weedmon, the Lalamon. She can make a field of various mons suddenly become much bigger than the opponent's security can handle. And she's also excellent with tempo for her ladder effect, which does not have to actually be triggered by her own effect, it can be done by any Digiburst. So even Terriermon can trigger it, Lalamon, if there's nothing in the field, can trigger it. Being able to lock an opponent's Digimon can attack or block, all of a sudden 2 blockers are doing nothing. And then obviously the consistent threat of Nidhoggmon, decimates Rookie Rush, there's Rookie Rush, punishes an opponent that decided to push but couldn't kill. Hercules Terriermon, the reason why he's here is because he was actually a toolbox option that at times did come up, but for most time just really stuck out like a sore thumb. I would honestly end up cutting him for the 3rd Nidhogg, just so I would have Nidhogg consistently. It would constantly be there, people would have to acknowledge it, and they can't push. Onto Stingmon, this card, he's another low cost, and I do have some gripes about him that just happen to be alleviated by Lilamon. So the thing about Bancho Stingmon is he requires your opponent to have already established a really big mon, Omega, and had already resolved the effect of it. Normally in this case it's like a Lord Nightmon, or soon to be Jessmon. This opportunity to have him pop off is greatly expanded on by Lilamon being able to Digiburst. Just bring her right out of the nursery, resolve her effect, their mon is suspended, and now you can punish them for putting Omega on field, period. And then automatically, if you happen to Digiburst off Yokomon, he also becomes a 17,000 that is just clearing every stack of it. Is not an option or something that just ends the battle right there. Bancho Stingmon definitely is another pressure tool in the case that the opponent doesn't want to play into Nidhoggmon or just happens to play around RAFFLESI. So that would be all the monster lineup right now. As I said, Hercules Terrier would be Nidhogg, so it would just be 3 Nidhogg, 3 RAFFLESI, or heck, it'd be even 4 RAFFLESI, 2 Nidhogg, as RAFFLESI does have that little niche of being able to play over another Mega, even herself. So in the case of your hands having a break, you can play one over and possibly draw into another tool to work with. So with this deck, there are no options. This includes hidden potential. That card is not in here. I very much believe that option cards, if they do not carry enough impact and do not fit the specific role that they need to, they just do not work. Therefore, I decided that it's better to run Tamers with varying effects that can benefit me in the whole game in its entirety. This has pretty much proven to be the case. Hidden potential, it will require me to already be up in the Digivolution chain. I wouldn't be able to use Blossomon with just 1 mon. It would need to have more established. That made it very difficult to use Hidden potential. as opposed to having Yoshino in play or Mimi in play. Mimi is just all around the best tamer. It's really hard to beat. Being able to skip phases, have multiple hatching is just really, really, really vital, and making the strategy much stronger than it would be. Yoshino, the reduction of cost. People underestimate a cost reduction of 1. It goes from making your turn, say, a pre-established Mimi, you go to 3, Yoshino's in play. All of a sudden, you can now move up a rookie, evolve it into a 1-cost champion, and then reduce cost for a lot of them. All of a sudden, you've used your 3, Yoshino's been tapped, and you still have a play for the turn. This play can be play another rookie to put your opponent 3 if you want to. Or say in the case that they don't have put you on a teamer that puts them to 3, you can just not use Yoshino and then just they go to 1. But in the case that they do, you get to play that, or you get to go into a Mega, also they need to out Mega. Yoshino also comes up in a variety of other situations as well. She reduces the cost for Nidhogg, so it goes from being a case that you give your opponent 4, or in the worst case, give them 5, to them having an outplay with T3, sometimes 2 if you happen to burst a Weedmon. And then, obviously, being able to put back an egg with multiple Mimis on the field is very, very, very nice to a long game. And it makes it so Mimi has even more push behind her. How I feel about the lineup for Tamers, though, I think I would actually cut a Mimi for a Davis. This would be to hopefully compensate for the problem with the champions, getting stuck with champions. That's usually where my games end up breaking at, is that I don't see a champion. Very rarely is it a case of a rookie issue, but it will usually be a case of seeing a rookie and seeing an ultimate and just having no bridge between them. So Davis would help alleviate that issue. Davis is kind of interesting in the fact that he adds a blue, 1 blue or 1 green, making it so he can technically add a green Digimon. So going over what my matchups were, round 1 I actually played against a Lord Knightmon deck. That one I happened to actually win. That game is very much a toss-up when it comes to this deck, depending on if they're able to keep cranking out removal tools for your field, and if your cards can keep flowing into one another, getting more rookies to play, getting your other models to keep building up, having them have to keep put pressure, otherwise you'll start taking out their Lord Knightmons. So it is very much, as I said, a toss-up between the two, and this deck can very much tempo with them. My second round was against a Diaboromon, playing against Diaboromon. That one was actually a case that they could not muster enough threat on field, and I was able to just keep taking out their champions and their ultimates with Ladamon. As I said, Ladamon is very much an impressive mon. She says she's 7k, she's 9k, there's a Yoko underneath. So that's how that round went. My third round was against the one player I did lose against in that tournament. Game 1, it was very much a brick. It was no champion. I would see, like, I saw multiple ultimates, I saw a couple Megas, I saw a couple Tamers, and by the time I could see anything at all, the game was already over pretty much. Game 2. That one, it was a very awkward start. I only had Weedmon to start with. Getting a Tamer out just did not happen until later, and they started with a TK, so they were already at 3. I'm playing with minimal resources to work with. In those situations, it is very punishing if you happen to misplay. In this case, I did. I did not take into account what Cutemon does. If other people don't know what that card does, it makes it so you cannot reduce cost. And unfortunately, that means I couldn't use Blossomon, that means I couldn't use Yoshino. I didn't see Yoshino, but pretty much I tried to set up for a Nidhogg, only to realize that, unfortunately I don't have 3 memory, and I cannot tap the Weedmon I just brought out from Nursery to go into Nidhogg. And from there, unfortunately, the Weedmon I had bought out in the nursery ended up popped. The one other Mon I had on the field were RAFFLESI with no materials. They easily took her out, and I ended up losing that one, unfortunately. My last round ended up being a mirror match. It ended up being against another green. I'm not certain of what exactly that build was. I'm not sure if he ran Grand Quagamon. We did Nidhogg back and forth, and I ended up winning that one. After the latter game, I set up Lilamon with the bunch of Stingmon. Bunch of Stingmon took his 3 security, and from there I had control of the game. That was pretty much my my tournament experience there. It was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I feel that this deck, it can handle most situations very nicely. As I said, it struggles with the consistency of Game of the Champions. I do feel that future sets will help mitigate this problem. I do feel that this deck is not very friendly for the much more casual player. As I said, you will be very easily punished if you make the wrong decisions, if you're not able to set up your tamers. You get very little flex room to make error with this deck. So besides that, it is actually a very, very cost-friendly deck. Your most expensive cards tend to end up being Nidhoggmon and the Mimis. RAFFLESIs are very cheap. Lilamons have been going down. Calvatarimon, the structure deck saw a reprint, so his price also went down a bit. He's maybe a 4 right now. So on the cost side, this deck is very friendly in that regard. To also cover on my egg zone here, it was indeed a 4 Yokomon. This was a burst, Digiburst deck. Very much take advantage of this card. Getting to put it back with Yoshino was very nice. The 5th one ended up being a Middlemon. It was previously like a Larvamon or one of the other ones, and I just found through a bit of testing that this one came up more than the others, so it filled the 5th spot. And let's see, anything else to cover here? Oh, well, this is a bit rambling at this point. Pause real quick. Okay, so in closing, overall I was happy about my tournament experience. Obviously I wish I could have won and gotten the invite. As I said, the main changes I'm going to make are going to be cutting Hercules Calvatarimon for the 3rd Nidhogg or the 4th RAFFLESI. I'm going to be trying out a Davis in this Mimi spot here. As some of the worst hands you can have is 2 Tamers grouped together, especially if they're same ones with an Ultimate or the Megaz and none of your little ones to go off of. Going forward with the next set, not too much is going to be changing with this deck. I don't think much needs to really change with the deck right now, unless Jesmon ends up being that oppressive, but for the most part, he's going to be basically doing what Lord Nightmon already does. So beyond that, we will be having another store tournament before Jesmon's set is released, and I will follow up with another video on that one, or if someone has questions in regards to how this deck performs or other choices made with the deck, go ahead and comment below, leave a like, and check us out for further videos. We are going to be looking into doing some recordings of Digimon matches on top of the Yu-Gi-Oh! We usually do. So please tune in for that, and hope you have a good one.